All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a real head-scratcher, a 400-year-old mystery that still has everyone talking. Yep, we're cracking the case of Shakespeare's Hamlet. So here's how we're gonna tackle this. We'll start with what makes this story so unique, then get into the ghost's accusation. After that, we'll follow Hamlet's own investigation, explore his big, ultimate question, see how everything spirals out of control, and finally, we'll give our verdict on the whole thing.
All right, first up, Shakespeare's greatest mystery. To really get what makes Hamlet such a masterpiece, it actually helps to start with what it isn't. And to do that, we're going to look at another one of Shakespeare's big hits.
So let's talk about Romeo and Juliet. I mean, everyone knows that story, right? But here's a fun fact. It's actually not considered one of Shakespeare's 4 great tragedies. So what's up with that? Why not?
Okay, so here's the deal. Romeo and Juliet? That's what you'd call a tragedy of circumstance. It's all about bad luck, bad timing, a real wrong place, wrong time kind of story. But the great tragedies, we're talking Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, they're totally different. They're tragedies of character. They're about a great, noble person who falls from grace, not because of fate, but because of some fatal flaw deep inside them. And that deep dive into the human mind, that's what gives them their power. It really sets the stage for what we're about to see with Hamlet.
Okay, on to part 2. A ghost's accusation. Now we get to the crime scene. And let me tell you, things in Denmark are, well, they're super suspicious right from the get-go.
So let's just look at the timeline here, because it is wild. First, King Hamlet dies, suddenly. And before anyone can even process it, his brother Claudius swoops in, takes the throne, and marries Hamlet's mom, Gertrude. I mean, talk about moving fast. And if that wasn't weird enough, a ghost starts haunting the castle walls. Now, for Prince Hamlet, this isn't just a series of unfortunate events. This is a string of massive, flashing red flags that are all screaming one thing: foul play.
And then, boom, the ghost finally speaks, and it turns out to be Hamlet's own father. He claims he was murdered, and get this, he points the finger directly at his own brother, Claudius, says he poured poison right in his ear. Suddenly, this whole family drama just became a full-blown murder investigation, and Hamlet's been tasked with getting revenge.
Which brings us to part 3, the Prince's Gambit. Now, Hamlet's in a tough spot. I mean, a ghost told him all this. You can't just go and kill the new king based on the word of an apparition, right? He needs cold, hard proof. And so, he comes up with his brilliant, kind of crazy plan to get it.
So here's Hamlet's master plan. Step 1, he's going to pretend to be completely insane. This way, nobody will take him seriously and he can spy on everyone without raising suspicion. Brilliant, right? Step 2 is the real genius move. He calls it the mousetrap. He's going to have a troupe of actors put on a play that reenacts the murder, exactly how the ghost described it. And that leads to step 3, watch the king. Just watch Claudius's face during the murder scene. His reaction will tell Hamlet everything he needs to know. See, this isn't a guy who can't make up his mind. This is a detective setting a very, very clever trap.
All right, part 4, the ultimate question. Because as Hamlet is digging for clues about this external crime, his investigation starts to turn inward. He's suddenly forced to deal with an even bigger, more profound mystery, one about life, death, and what it even means to act at all.
And this leads him to maybe the most famous line ever written in English: to be or not to be. That is the question. We've all heard it, but what is he actually asking here? It's not as simple as it sounds. There are a few different layers to it.
Yeah, at first glance, it just sounds like he's thinking about suicide, right? To live or to die. But it goes so much deeper than that. He's really asking, what's the better way to live? Do you just put up with all the terrible stuff life throws at you, or do you stand up and fight back? Do you just exist, or do you take a stand even if it might get you killed? It's this huge, universal debate about how any of us should deal with a world that's often cruel and unjust.
And here's the real kicker. The thing that's truly holding him back isn't cowardice. It's the terrifying, unknown possibility of what comes after death. You know that line about what dreams may come? What if death isn't an escape? What if it's just more of the same, or even worse? That thought, that fear of the unknown, is absolutely paralyzing, and it's right at the very heart of his struggle.
Okay, moving on to part 5, a tragic cascade. Because once Hamlet gets his proof, and he does, his next moves set off this horrifying, unstoppable chain reaction. The quest for truth is about to have some very, very bloody consequences.
And I mean, it is a complete catastrophe. It's like a row of dominoes falling. Hamlet accidentally kills Polonius. That pushes Ophelia, who he loves, into madness, and she drowns. This in turn leads her brother Laertes to team up with Claudius for a final desperate trap, a poison duel. By the time the dust settles, pretty much everyone is dead. Gertrude, Laertes, Claudius, and Hamlet himself, all of it, just total devastation, all stemming from that one single act of getting justice.
So now for our final section, the verdict on Hamlet. The stage is just littered with bodies. The only one left is Hamlet's loyal friend, Horatio, who has to tell this tragic story. So, after 400 years, after all of that, what's the final verdict on this guy, on this whole case?
I mean, think about it. The bad guy is punished, the mystery is solved, so why on earth do we keep coming back to this incredibly dark, incredibly complicated story, even after all this time?
Well, here's the verdict. The reason Hamlet has stuck around for so long is because, in a way, it's a mirror. It shows us the messy, complicated, contradictory parts of ourselves. I mean, the psychology in this play is so deep, it literally inspired Sigmund Freud and his whole Oedipus complex theory. And Hamlet, he's not some simple sword-swinging hero. No way. He's thoughtful, he's conflicted, he's human. He's one of us. He's wrestling with the exact same huge, timeless questions about life, doubt, and death that we all have to face.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. The play isn't trying to give you some nice, neat answer. Its real genius is that it forces us to grapple with the questions right alongside Hamlet. The story ends, the curtain falls, but it leaves you thinking, wondering about your own life, your own choices. And that's why it's a mystery that never truly gets old.
All right, let's talk Romeo and Juliet. We all feel like we know this story, right? The ultimate star-crossed lovers. But what if the story we all remember is just scratching the surface? What if I told you this play isn't just a romance, but a full-blown revolutionary manifesto that was designed to challenge everything about the world it was born into? I mean, that's the real question here, isn't it? Why does a 400-year-old play about a couple of teenagers still hit us so hard today? There's got to be more to it. And the answer, well, it's way more complex and, honestly, way more fascinating than just a simple tragic love story. Yeah, you see, Shakespeare wasn't just writing a romance. He was staging a rebellion. A rebellion against, old ideas about love. A rebellion against the crushing weight of family and tradition. And maybe most importantly, a rebellion against the very way people were starting to think about what it even means to be human. All right, so let's start with the first big piece of the puzzle. The idea of love that Shakespeare puts on stage, well, for his time, it was completely, utterly revolutionary. It was practically a whole new way of feeling. So before this play, love was often discussed as this detached, platonic thing. It was an ideal, something spiritual and abstract that existed up in your mind. But Shakespeare? He takes that idea and just slams it right down into the physical world. For him, love isn't some concept you think about. No, it's a real physical sensation. It's something you feel in your beating heart, in your gut, through your senses. And this quote just nails that shift perfectly. When Romeo first sees Juliet, he doesn't ask his brain if he's in love. No, he asks his heart. It's a physical, gut-level, instantaneous reaction. It's a love that's born from the body, not from the mind. Okay, so this new idea of love, this physical, all-consuming feeling, it doesn't just stay in a vacuum. It actually becomes the fuel for an even bigger rebellion. A rebellion against the whole structure of society itself. Right? We all know these lines from the balcony scene. They're some of the most famous in history. But it is so easy for us to miss just how completely shocking this would have sounded to an audience 400 years ago. I mean, what did it actually mean to refuse your name back then?
See, this is the crucial part. This wasn't just some poetic, romantic statement. Your name was everything. It was your whole family identity, your social status, where you fit in the world. It was your money, your inheritance, literally your connection to the past and your hope for the future. So for Juliet to say she would just refuse her name, that was a profound declaration of individualism. She was choosing her personal love over the entire social order. What she's doing here is making this incredibly deep philosophical point. A name, it's just a label. It's not the real thing. She's saying what's actually real is the individual, the person right in front of you. And that was a direct challenge to a world where, for pretty much everyone, your identity was handed to you by your family, not created by yourself.
Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. Because this big critique of tradition and authority, it wasn't actually aimed at a couple of fictional families in Italy. Not really. So you have to ask, why Verona? Well, for the English audience back then, Italy had this reputation for being a hotbed of violence, crazy family feuds, and really strict patriarchal rule. It was the perfect cover. By setting the play there, Shakespeare could hold up a mirror to his own world, to the corruption and violence of Elizabethan England, a place where, let's not forget, the government was literally sponsoring pirates to make money. And all of this brings us to the tragic climax of the play. This is the moment where all these huge ideas we've been talking about, physical love, fierce individualism, rebellion against the world, they all come together and crystallize in one final, absolutely shocking symbol. So the plan has just gone horribly wrong. Everything has failed. Romeo, thinking Juliet is dead, has poisoned himself. And just then, Juliet wakes up to find him lifeless beside her. She has one last choice to make. She sees Romeo's dagger, but she doesn't see a weapon of violence. No, she sees an instrument of union. And she speaks these final, incredibly powerful words just before she takes her own life. Her choice of words is so deliberate here. This is thy sheath. I mean, wow. She is literally declaring her body as the dagger's rightful home. This is not just a metaphor, you guys. It's this intensely physical symbol of their union. In that moment, their two beings become one. It's a complete, permanent bodily union, an eternal embrace that even death can't break. So her final act, her death, it becomes the ultimate rebellion. It's the final powerful expression of a love that is deeply physical, fiercely individual, and strong enough to defy every single boundary society tried to build. In the end, their union in death becomes more real and way more permanent than the world that tried to keep them apart. So if we zoom all the way out, what we're seeing is Shakespeare making this huge, profound argument. He was writing right on the cusp of a new age, an age that was going to be defined by people like Descartes and his whole I think, therefore I am philosophy, a worldview that puts reason and the mind above everything else. And Shakespeare, he pushes back against that hard. He champions the beating heart, raw emotion, physical sensation. It's like his philosophy isn't I think, therefore I am, it's my heart feels, therefore I love. He's arguing that the truest knowledge we have doesn't come from our logical brain, but from what we feel physically in our bodies. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. Maybe the reason Romeo and Juliet has this enduring, electric power isn't just because it's a great love story. Maybe it's because it's asking us, even all these centuries later, to rebel a little bit, to trust what our hearts are feeling over what our eyes are just seeing, and to maybe, just maybe, believe that some things are worth abandoning the entire world for.